Do words really matter? Number 137. Welcome back. Today we'll be looking at the Gospel of John to evaluate the language of the Master and strive to emulate his high standards. So let's get started. John 8:27-30. They did not understand that he was telling them about the Father. So Jesus said, "When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing on my own, but speak exactly what the Father has taught me. He who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone because I always do what pleases him." As Jesus spoke these things, many believed in him. My thoughts. Can you imagine being able to say what Jesus just said? Let me paraphrase. I have only done and said exactly what God wants me to, and I have always pleased him. Wow, that's incredible. And the response? Many believed in him. I don't know about you, but if someone I knew made that statement, my response wouldn't be to believe. I would be rolling my eyeballs and shaking my head. Why? Because I know people. But I think that was the very thing that these people who believed in him rested their faith in. They knew him. They were utterly astonished, saying, "He has done all things well." Mark 7:37. Or when he challenges the religious leaders with this question, "Which one of you convicts me of sin?" John 8:46. Wow, again! Jesus had a reputation, and it matched what he said and how he said it. Now let me go from preaching to meddling. Jesus makes an astounding statement about his words, his speech, his language. He didn't say anything that wouldn't have passed through the Father's lips first. I don't know about you, but I find that extremely convicting. And the reason I bring this up as a disciple maker is because I'm alarmed at the language I hear Christians using today. I expect the world to be profane and coarse, but not those who profess to be disciples of Jesus. Everyone from dignitaries to government officials to pastors preaching from the pulpit are dropping the F-bomb like there's no tomorrow. Well, there is a tomorrow. But I tell you that every careless word that people speak, they shall give an accounting for it in the day of judgment. Matthew 12:36. Jesus is not just talking about profanity. It's words that don't edify, encourage, challenge, and exhort others in a godly manner. Shouldn't our language be starkly different from the world? Maybe we need to do a little house cleaning, or should I say mouth cleaning. My story. There's an old saying, "He swears like a sailor." Whoever made that up hadn't met an airborne ranger. Surely they would have found a better example for one who uses foul language. In fact, that was one of the hardest battles I had to fight as a new Christian. It took me a while, but through a little discipline and a lot of grace, I managed to control my tongue as far as profanity goes. As I made disciples, I would challenge them to watch their language, as it has an impact on their witness, not to mention displeases their Lord. I heard every excuse in the book from, "It's just words," to, "That seems legalistic," to, "It's the only language soldiers understand." I even had some chaplains use these common excuses. Well, I was a ranger instructor, and let me assure you my students clearly understood what I was saying without all the expletives sprinkled into good old-fashioned English. So, how did I get a handle on the words coming out of my mouth? First, I had to be convinced it was wrong to use this kind of language. Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear. Ephesians 4:29. Next, it took a lot of prayer. I'd pray every day during my devotional time that God would clean my mouth up. Next, I had to have a standard. My standard was if I couldn't say it in front of my grandmother, it probably would be offensive. So I used vocabulary that was appropriate for women, children, and old people. By the way, this standard would not apply to some grandmothers today. Lastly, I applied persevering discipline. I carried a 3x5 card in my back pocket, and every time I cussed, I put a mark on it. At first, by the end of the day, it was dripping with ink. Finally, it was once a day, then once a week, and then once a month. Then one year, when my Korean troops dropped an outhouse on my head, I let one slip. It took a deliberate plan to get my language under control. Don't get me wrong, I still can't make the statement Jesus made, but I am working on it. As disciple makers, let's set an example of godly speech and encourage those we disciple to do the same. Our action plan. Now it's time for application. Here's some ideas. Monitor your words. Are they words the Father or Jesus would use? Make an intentional plan to change your speech patterns. Talk to those you are discipling about the importance of godly language. Jesus only spoke what the Father wanted him to speak. If we are going to be like him, we need to be mindful of what comes out of our mouths too. We won't be perfect, but we can strive to move that direction. Organic writing, no artificial intelligence or sweeteners added.